is my gift to be able to understand the meaning of dreams.
Your gift is a generational gift.
Like to spend time on their own and then tell people you can understand their dreams. That was just a little bit too much.
What does dream mean?
It's expressing the deeper desires and wishes of a person.
But where is the source of the dream? Where is it coming from?
Dreams come from the deepest and wisest part of ourselves.
Is it that maybe when we die, all that information that we have accumulated in life dies?
Those thoughts, that knowledge is just, it's there. It's in the ether, if you will. And that can be pulled down in various ways to be used by other people.
How much do we really go when we go into the world of the dream?
The people who appear in our dreams are not necessarily themselves.
What is actually a dream in relation to a nightmare?
A nightmare is a form of dream. It's just one that has negative connotations to it, or generates negative energy.
What do you really consider when you decipher a dream?
Look at the dream in that context. It's all about context.
Is it possible that people sleep without dreams?
Statistically, that happens with everybody on the planet.
What is your final thought here? Maybe a message you want to leave the people with?
My question to people is, what are you missing out on by not listening to your dream? My name is Sheila Balgobin. I'm also known as the Dream Decipherer, and it is my gift to be able to understand the meaning of dreams. It's a family gift. It's something that has been passed down through the women in my mother's line, and I'm the fifth generation of persons with this ability. How it manifests is different in everyone, but for me, it means that I have the ability to be able to unravel the meaning behind dreams. I have made that my life's mission, if you will, to be able to share that gift with others, either by helping them directly with their dreams, or as a sleep and dream coach, helping them to improve their sleep and to unravel the important information that may be contained within their dreams.
Wow, this is really beautiful. Trust me, I've never had the chance to interview somebody about interpretation of dreams. So this is going to be an interesting conversation today. I am very positive about that.
Okay.
So, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, you will call it, let's spend some time to learn about you, because you said this is a family history or heritage, as it were, right?
That's right.
All right. Tell me about that family.
Well, it's family like all other families. As I said, this is just a particular gift that's been handed down through the women in on my mother's side. It's one that almost kind of taken for granted in a way. Not taken for granted, but it's not something that people made a whole lot of fanfare about or discussed a lot. And for many years, actually, it was something that I actually ran away from. You're a kid who's a bookworm and wears thick glasses and like to spend time on their own, and then tell people you can understand their dreams. That was just a little bit too much. For me growing up, but it wasn't really at 8 years old. I've realized that I had this family gift when I had a dream, and it was about one of my aunts and my 6 cousins' home burning down due to an electrical fire. At that time, it was unusual that to have this dream, but I noted it, then kind of looked at the time on the clock and went back to sleep. But the next day, another aunt came by the house and told us gather things that we didn't need to be able to take to this aunt and my cousins whose home had burned down. And that's when the penny dropped for me that not only did I have this gift, but dreams were something important. and it frightened me. So it was something that I actually ran away from for a long time until 2017 when I attended a women's retreat in Marrakesh in Morocco. And it was there that I realized that not only that dreams were something that people were interested in, but would be willing to actually pay someone to engage with their dreams and learn more about them. So that's officially when I started to be, bill myself, as you will, as a dream detective, or now the dream decipherer. And I've just been walking that path ever since. Everything else that I've ever done, and I've done lots of things over many years, from banking to paralegal work to working in the medical field for many years, holistic therapist, a psychotherapist. So I've done a lot of things over the years, but I've kind of taken all of those abilities and talents and skills that I've developed and brought them all together under one umbrella, working with dreams. And the reason why I became a sleep and dream coach is that because if people aren't sleeping well, they're not dreaming well either. And even though neuroscience these days has indicated and is showing that dreams are important in and of themselves, not just as a part of sleep, but they're linked, and you can't have one without the other. So it's to get people to sleep well so that they can actually get to the dream stage is important.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, you said one is linked to the other, so people better pay attention to the sleep, and therefore the consequence of it is the dream. Because if you are dreaming without sleeping, now you will be daydreaming.
Well, yeah, I mean, and interestingly enough that you say that, because I worked in London for some years as a drug and alcohol counselor. And what I noticed is that while the clients that I was seeing were still drinking or taking drugs or whatever they were doing, they didn't dream. And that makes sense because they're suppressing memories. Once they stopped, however, they were dreaming constantly, even when awake, which is why sometimes we see people standing in the middle of the street screaming and crying at somebody that only they can see, because they have the dream content or the suppressed content in the unconscious mind is flooding up into everyday waking reality. So in that state, they're in that place, they're in that content is brought up, but to us from the outside, it just looks like they've completely lost it. But that is the dream content or suppressed information in the unconscious mind that is flooding their waking minds. So you can literally dream while you're awake, but it may not be the healthiest thing. There is, however, a technique that I do with people who are psychologically sound, meaning that there's no possibility of them getting lost in the dream, so to speak, that they can do while they're awake to be able to engage with dream content and in a conscious way. And that's called active imagination. It was a technique developed by Carl Jung. And so you can dream while awake, but either because it's a psychotic episode or because you're doing something like active imagination under guidance, which is different.
Okay, take us back a little bit. You are a little young girl, Sheila. What do you see around you?
All kinds of things. I mean, we had all kinds of pets in the house. Lived in an apartment in New York City, fifth floor of a sixth floor walk up, and we had a monkey. We had dogs. We had rabbit
A
at one
monkey?
point.
What?
Birds.
Where did that monkey came from?
Well, my father was an animal lover. I mean, we all liked animals, but couldn't stand seeing animals being mistreated. So he's always bringing something or other home.
Okay.
So my brother raised pigeons on the roof. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. But so animals were a big feature of my growing up years. Typical city landscape. We lived at that time lived in the Bronx in New York. brutal winters. It's very cold. With freezing temperatures of well below zero, huge snowfalls. So yeah, it was a very different time. People were much more willing to help each other out. I think that it's not quite so cutthroat like it is now. But yeah, that was pretty much my environment growing up.
All right. What would make you happy more that time? Okay, what I'm trying to go there, like, where do you like to go? What did you do more as a young adolescent growing up in the Bronx in New York?
Well, I always liked travel because I was surrounded by it was a mixed neighborhood, so surrounded by all kinds of people. So learning different languages was something that came naturally to me, and it's something I enjoy till today. I'm learning Japanese at the moment, or relearning Japanese. I think it was the travel. That's something that's has always fascinated me. Being able to travel and meet people and communicate with people. I learned to recognize accents very early, starting with my grandfather, who was born and raised in Trinidad, and so I had to learn to listen very carefully. And to be able to understand him at that time. But that love of learning and travel has stayed with me all my life. And in between, summers were spent traveling. Particularly when I was at university, I traveled during the summers to just to be able to expand my horizons. I find that the best education, some of the best education I've ever had has been interacting with people from different cultures and countries and what have you. And that's something that stays with me until today. I'm thinking about going back to Europe to retire, either back to the UK or perhaps somewhere on the continent. I'm not sure yet.
All right. You are still young. There is a lot of time also ahead of you. You can still have a lot of dreams to be fulfilled.
Older than not that much time.
All right. Now, are you a very curious person?
Well, what do you mean by that? I'm just curious. What?
All right. Okay, that's fine.
That's right. Turn it around. Let's ask you the question.
No, I'm trying to understand how much you like to ask questions of things that you didn't know, something like that.
Oh, I'm very curious. I'm not afraid to ask questions. Not afraid to express an opinion. Sometimes it's better if I don't. but that's one thing. It's learning to kind of temper that honesty. Sometimes maybe a bit too honest for people's taste. But it's something that as I've gotten older, I've kind of found a balance with regard to being upfront with people and also being a bit more diplomatic, shall we say.
All right. That's fair enough. Now, I was asking that question because I want that question to sort of lead us to somewhere. You have, of course, you started just now saying that your gift is a generational gift. It's something that is inherited from the line of your mother.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I'm more interested now in learning about your grandmother and your mother through the story that they told you. So, what did they tell you about where all this is coming from?
I think it's a matter of service. I called these women, or myself, dreamers, that have some ability with dreams. I mean, to give you an example, my late sister now, she dreamt to help people who were in dire financial straits. She would dream money for them. It never worked for me, but That was her particular take on the gift, that, people who were really in serious financial difficulty and needed help, she would somehow dream, whether it would be lottery numbers, I don't know, but whatever it was, that was her way of people. For my mother, who was a nurse, it was just having that sense of knowing, what people needed. I mean, her patients just absolutely loved her. They were, always asking for and whatnot. So it was just about having that sense of being able to get behind the medication and the pain and whatnot, and really tend to people. My grandmother, again, I mean, she died when my mother was a young woman, so I didn't know her, but from people who knew her, funnily enough, they say that I physically built like her, but short. She was tall. But we had the same figure. But again, she used her dreams to almost in a prescient sense, that she would be aware of things going on with people, maybe even before they were aware, and go to tend to them. So it took different forms in different people, according to, I guess, their individual personalities and how the gift manifested within them. For me, like I said, it's really about being able to understand the messages contained within dreams, so that dreams have their own way of expressing themselves. And in fact, that's part of the problem, in a sense, because the left brain is the bean counter brain, the neocortex, which developed later in human history, and that's the logical part of ourselves, the part that evaluates, that counts, that makes decisions. Whereas the right brain, which is where dreams come from, that is developed before human language developed. So it's called the reptilian brain. So it's really about instinct and survival. So it stores information in pictures because it was developed pre-verbally. So, you see a saber-toothed cat, that means run. If you see those beautiful berries that nearly killed you the last time you ate them, to avoid them. So it would store the information in pictures. So now when you have the neocortex, the new brain, looking at the stuff that the old brain is throwing up in these images, it's going, what the hell is that? It's nonsense, that's too much cheap wine or cheese or something that's created this image. But dreams have their own language. They have their own way of presenting information, and each person's code to understand what the dreams are saying is different. So your dream code and my dream code are going to be different. You see a black cat, it's going to mean something for you, but it's going to mean something else for me. So cracking that dream code is what I help people to do in terms of a 6-week course that I offer in dream interpretation called Dream Your Life and Live Your Dream. It's to give people skills and tools to be able to manifest, remember, and interpret their dreams.
Thank you so much for that. See, I will tell you, this is really an important conversation to have, honestly.
It can be, it's to give you an idea of just how important dreams can be. There was there was a study conducted at the University of Chicago. And it was a sleep study, actually, but it looked at 3 groups of women. One group was a control group of women who were happily married and not seeking to leave their partners or spouses. The other 2 groups were women who went through really bad breakups or divorces. One group that dreamed and the other group that did not. And during the sleep study, they would wake up the women who stated that they would dream and ask them what they were dreaming about. And they were dreaming about their partner or ex-partner and or aspects of the relationship. Now, these women were all clinically depressed, these two groups of women, but the women who dreamed actually recovered more quickly and more completely from their depression than the women who said they couldn't remember their dreams or didn't dream at all. So, one of the functions of dreams is for psychological regulation, to keep us on an even keel. And just as when my drug and alcohol clients were not dreaming, and then all that material came flooding up and created these psychotic episodes, it's important to maintain that mental balance. So the unconscious mind and the conscious mind work in tandem with each other, and in fact, the unconscious mind acts in a compensatory function. And what I mean by that is that as if we're out of whack in our waking life, our dreams become outrageous as a counterweight. I'll give you an example, and I'm showing my age here, I know. Years ago on the Saturday Night Live shows, there used to be a character called the Church Lady. And the church lady was always pointing her finger at people, and they're so morally lax, and they're they're doing all kinds of things, and she's the moral arbiter of all that's good and proper, and she's pointing a finger at them. But what people didn't know is that church lady in her dreams was having wild sex with multiple people. And this is what I mean by this counterbalance. The more outrageous our behavior is, even if it doesn't appear outrageous in our waking lives, but out of kilter is what I mean. So if their waking life is things are not really going the way they should be, the dream state will actually kind of reflect that outrageousness in some way, in an exaggerated way. And hopefully, if we perceive the message is to work to bring ourselves back into balance again. And that's one of the functions of dreams. There's other functions as well, but that is really the main function, is really to tap into the deepest and wisest part of ourselves that knows all about us, all our hopes, all our fears, all our dreams, etc. And occasionally that unconscious mind, because it's clocking everything all the time, every day, will float up information like a little kite to say, hey, have a look at this. This is important. And it's up to us to either answer the call to action, whether it be to change our thoughts around something, or to take an actual physical action, or ignore it. And the dreams will keep coming back, I can assure you, if you're ignoring them, especially if it's something very important. And it was a series of dreams that were repetitive, that kept the unconscious mind was saying, you don't get it, send it again. You don't get it, I'll keep sending it until you get it or take some kind of action. So I had a series of dreams like that some years ago, and they frightened me because it was the first time I could not understand what the dreams were saying. I mean, I was dreaming about shipwrecks and stormy seas and ships going down at sea, and I couldn't make heads or tails of this. I wasn't going on a cruise, didn't know anybody going on a cruise, and couldn't understand why these dreams were occurring. However, I noted the dream, which is important, and I just kind of put it to one side. But these dreams I was having nightmares every single night. Every single night. Now, until I took a particular action, the dreams continued. And I'd wake up with my heart pounding, in a sweat. I mean, just frightened to death, literally. But I made a decision, and that was to return. I was in New York at the time, to return to London to join my husband there instead of trying to bring him to New York. And when I made that decision, the dreams abruptly just stopped. Just as suddenly as they started, they stopped. So I made my way back, eventually made my way back to London. And it wasn't until a year later that I understood what the dreams were about. So in this sense, they were warning me of something to come. I was working for a doctor's surgery at the time, and I went home for lunch because it was just down the street from where I lived. I came back from lunch to the doctor's surgery, and people were running around. They were screaming. They were crying. It was like, what the hell is going on? What happened in the hour that I left for lunch? And all I could get out of people was tower, plane, hit. And my mind went completely blank. It was in that second, I knew what those dreams were about. I knew it was 9/11, and it was, my mind just went completely blank. I walked through the towers every single day for work as a stockbroker, every day, to and from work or during the execution of my duties as a stockbroker. And could very well, if I hadn't made that decision to return to London, very well could have been caught up in 9/11. So, that's when, for me, it was like the final nail in the coffin. It's like, you doubt this stuff isn't important? It is very important. It could be literally life-changing important. So, and that's really was the catalyst for me to really be able to share this gift, talking to on all kinds of platforms, like with like people like you, nice people, allow me to share my story, teaching courses and doing, just getting people to look at their dreams in a different way. It was really quite refreshing. A few months back, I was gave a talk to a women's group in Hong Kong, and China and other places as well. They're still set great store by dreams, and give them great importance. So it was quite refreshing to be in a group of people that got it. I didn't have to really explain as such the importance of dreams, because culturally it was something that was considered to be important, and therefore they were clued in already. With Westerners in particular, especially the Newtonian physics and whatnot. It's like they wanted to get away from the kind of woo-woo kind of stuff and talk about hard science. So it's more of a struggle, I think, for the Western world to accept that there's this part of us that can literally change our lives. I mean, empires have been won and lost because of dreams. You can look that in just about every holy book there is. There have dreams feature, and dreams have changed things. Whether it was you're talking about the Bible, the Gita, the Quran, everywhere they talk about dreams and their importance. And you hear in the southwestern U.S. the native people from the Navajo and Hopi tribes, their elders sit down and dream the world that their great 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 grandchildren will inherit. Dream time in Australia, the Aborigine people are known for working with dream time, the time before time. And they'll even say, dream time is something that is always been and always will be, because let's say, for example, you can kill a kangaroo. That's okay. But you can't kill kangaroo dreaming. You can't kill an idea. You can't. It's impossible. Once it's out there, it's out there. There are still cultures around the planet that still honor dreams and look to them for guidance, whether it be, from the spirit world, but also to move things along in terms of the group itself. So there's group dynamics, that you don't just dream for yourself, you dream for your tribe, your community. And so dreams used to have greater importance than they do now, particularly in the West. And that's a shame, because it's a fount of information that can really, really enhance our lives if we allow it to.
Thank you so much for that. All right, so you made mention of the word dream a good number of times here, and of course that is a focus of our conversation, no doubt about that. Now, Sheila, I want you to talk to an amateur, somebody that don't know what you are talking about. What does dream mean?
What is a dream? I mean, I think the Walt Disney said it very well in the old movie classic Cinderella. He said, "A dream is a wish your heart makes." Even the Bible says that. Said, as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. So to me, is expressing the deeper desires and wishes of a person. So, I mean, yeah, we say, oh, my dream car, my dream job, my dream partner, but it's deeper than that. It's the things that the parts of life that will bring you the greatest joy and fulfillment, I believe, if you pay attention, and help us guide us to making better decisions that are truly in alignment with who we are and what we need to grow and develop.
Can someone ask, where is a dream really coming from in the sense of the origin of it? Because now,
Okay.
well, you are going to be talking about the interpretation of the dreams. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions about that. But what if somebody were to ask you, but where is the source of the dream? Where is it coming from?
Well, this neuroscience is still trying to figure that out. So it's like I don't know if I can give it, a specific answer. They're still battling that one out. But dreams, for me, as my understanding, is that dreams come from the deepest and wisest part of ourselves. Like I said, the unconscious mind, psychologically, is considered to be like this vast ocean. And the conscious mind, the part of us that says I, is this little cork that bobs along the ocean. So the unconscious mind, like I said, it clocks everything. It's clocking the birds singing outside, neighbors fighting upstairs, dogs barking down the street, car backfiring. It's clocking all of that all the time, every day, 365 days a year. So there's no time that the unconscious mind is switched off. It's noticing everything that's going on. But being that our conscious minds can only take so much information in at any one time, otherwise it would just implode. The unconscious takes that information, sorts through it during the night, and one of the things that goes on during the night is our brain is doing memory consolidation, and dreaming may be part of that, where it's sorting through information that has been received from various sources during the day. And if something in that during that process comes up that is pertinent and important for the person to be aware of, that's where the dream comes from. It's this information that's floated up, again, in a dream in a particular way, and looks a bit crazy, but it's not. There's a complete logic the way information is presented in a dream. It's just different from the normal left-brained bean counting way of looking at stuff. It's very logical. It's just a different logic. So, to me, that's where that information comes from. It's coming from the unconscious mind. As it sorts through information to provide us with clues about something that perhaps that we need to focus our attention on.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I am taking some time to reflect on what you said there about the subconscious, because I think it's very important. Now we are talking a lot about data, and I seem to tell people where data has been here forever.
Mhm.
Data, this information, accumulation of information and interpreting it has been here since the dawn of time. You want to talk about mathematics? It was perfected before the pyramid were built, for the simple fact that you need to measure, you need to understand the accuracy of what you are measuring. Because if you don't know what the numbers mean, it is impossible for you to put that stone on top of the other. And when you put the other one on top of it, when you put about like 20 on top of each other, that's still going to be perfect. This is not random.
Mhm.
So this data will be working with it forever. Now, you also said something to the effect that the information that, of course, you are not processing in the conscious mind, it goes into the subconscious mind. Okay, the subconscious mind sort of have a record of everything. Now, for how far can that go? Is it that maybe when we die, all that information that we have accumulated in life dies, or does it go somewhere that we are all tapping into? Can you say something about that?
Well, there's the theory of the collective unconscious that had been put forward by Freud and Jung. And that means that psychologically, we all have the same psychological substrata, so that people can dream in languages they've never learned. They can dream about places they've never traveled to. They can tap into concepts and ideas that they never never knew or had heard about. So that information, in a sense, doesn't die. They say in science, matter is neither created nor destroyed, and ideas are just another form of matter, an intangible form, but matter nevertheless. So that energy, those thoughts, that knowledge is just, it's there. It's in the ether, if you will, and that can be pulled down in various ways, to be used by other people. So, I mean, how is it that people will come up with the same invention, and they're in different parts of the world, they don't talk to each other, but they come up with the same idea? Books that have been written by different people, but they have contain the same elements and have never met each other and don't know about each other. That's exactly because of this reason, because the psychological strata is common to all humans on the planet, past, present, and future. And therefore, the information that they may have acquired and accumulated during their lifetimes never really goes anywhere. It's just there. It's the collective knowledge of humanity, the collective unconscious. And that is what people can tap into. Now, most of our dreams are localized in that they pertain to you and your life and what's going on with you. That's what they do. But occasionally, they will tap into a larger reality. I know before lockdown occurred with COVID, I had people from all over the planet, literally all over the planet, dreaming about bugs, dreaming about Asia, dreaming about China, and bugs. Again, I said that the dreams will present information in a certain way. Now, bugs, like a bug, a virus, COVID. So again, the dreams are very logical about what they were presenting, but people just didn't understand what it was they were presenting. So that information is out there. It's just all around us, within us, and we can pull it down and interact with it from time to time.
The collective unconscious, and you said this information are there. We can tap into it from time to time if we want to. I think if we can even phantom that, the next relevant question would therefore be how. Do we need to learn how to do that? How to tap into those information that is not on your regular conversation, but you can tap into it. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, I teach people how to do that. So, yes, I do believe that most people have no clue or how to engage with their dreams, or even to give them any kind of credence that they're worth anything. Like I said, bad wine, cheese at night, whatever the case may be, the excuse that they give for having a crazy dream, or what seems to be a crazy dream. I actually teach people, give them tools and information to be able to um, tap into their dreams and discover, or have worked through what the meaning is behind it. So it's not. There may be cultures and places where they're already tuned in to dreams, and therefore have practices or principles that they use to be able to understand them. But for the vast majority of Westerners, like I said, they don't engage with their dreams really, and therefore being able to do that, they have to learn. They just have to become aware and then learn.
Now, somebody might be wondering, how much do we really go when we go into the world of the dream? No, that are we limited to how far we can go? I'm saying that because usually when you tell somebody to explain your dream, the person will be able to say everything that have happened in the dream. Like, for example, I saw a masquerade try to tried to kill me. The masquerade was having a cutlass. I was running in the forest, so this masquerade was pursuing me. Or maybe there was a car, for example, or there was a man running after me, or I was pursuing something, or something was
Lost you there.
happening. Everything that the person who have had a dream is saying is something that he or she already know. That is why he's able to explain it. But what if there is something that he or she have never seen or never heard of, and he has it in a dream? Or can he have those things in a dream? How is he going to be able to explain that so that another person can understand the image that we have seen in a dream? That is a kind of a curiosity I'm having there.
Well, that's the whole point of learning how to break down a dream and look at the different elements of it, because it's a story. It's a story with different pieces to it. And so to be able to capture the information that the dream is presenting, you have to look at the different elements. Because I mean, whether it's in color or black and white, is it people that you know or don't know? What time of day was it? What was it? What was the weather doing? What, you know? So I mean, who were the players in the dream? Now, if the one thing I have to always tell people is that the people who appear in our dreams are not necessarily themselves. They could be actually representing a actual person, but usually what the unconscious mind does is hang a thought, a way of being, an idea on something familiar. Occasionally unfamiliar, but generally it will be hung on something that you already know. But being that dreams come from us and are about us, therefore you have to not assume, rather, that the person that is represented in the dream is themselves, but actually some aspect of the dreamer themselves. So, you know, to give you an example, I had a dream about years ago about my late husband. We were traveling, but we were both in an airplane, but he was sitting in one seat on one side of the plane, and I was sitting in a different seat on the other side of the plane. Now, my interpretation of that, my understanding of that, was that we were both heading somewhere, but, you know, on our own path, our own way, which was true. And that resonated with me. You know when you've got the right interpretation for a dream because it clicks in your head. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. So it's really a matter of looking at the various images and symbols that are represented in the dream and tracing them back. This is what's important. Tracing them back to where those feelings or thoughts or ideas are manifesting themselves in waking life. Because if you can't make the connection between the unconscious mind and the conscious mind, then it just becomes a bunch of gobbledygook. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. It has no link to reality. So it's always important, whatever's in the dream, and that's what I teach people, how to break down those elements of the dream and link them back to where these feelings are manifesting themselves in waking life, and that's how the connection is made. Now, I had a client someone who took my course, and she got important health information with regard to her heart through a dream that she had. So, you know, and it made her. She took action based on that, and actually started taking some natural product. I think it was black seed oil, which is a heart tonic. So, you know, the information, it's a matter of taking that information that's presented and finding out where in our lives that it's pertinent to be able to affect some kind of action. And for me, dreams are a call to action, either to get you to think, at least to think about something differently, but to actually take some kind of concerted action to be able to affect a change.
Now, I'm having a thought. Because now you have explained the source of the dream. Even though you say, okay, neuroscientists are still working on that to understand actually where the dream is coming from, which is the origin of the dream. You have talked about the origin of the dream. even though you said that neuroscientists are still working on that to actually pinpoint where the dream is coming from or the origin, as it were. Now, I heard you say something to the effect of the message coming to you in the form of the dream or something. Or at least I know a lot of people that say that sometimes the dream is a message to you. Because, of course, now there is a call to action with me. You need to act on a message. Now, you also talk of the universal consciousness or the human or the collective unconscious. So what I'm trying to understand there is either is a detachment between the person who is having a dream and maybe where the message is coming from. Or is it possible that the person is sending the message to itself, to himself or to herself, or maybe to other people or other things, sending a message to him or her? Why I'm asking the question is that if we take the argument to some form of in the angle of spirituality, so people might tell you where my ancestors are sending a message to me of what to do in the dream, or I am communicating to my ancestors, for example. So in our mean, you are not communicating to yourself, you are communicating to a different source of reality, which is not you. I don't know if there is anything of relevance there that you can explain to us in understanding dream.
When we're not attached to ordinary reality, I mean, even quantum physics talks about this. And let's think, make it real simple. Let's say you have a spindle, like those old-fashioned spindles. It was a, you could stick messages on it. It was like you would push these messages down onto this spindle. And so here you have with the most recent messages on top and the older messages at the bottom. Okay. Now, in quantum physics, you're talking about a multiverse. All of those pieces of paper are existing in the same time continuum in the present, but they represent different time stamps in the universe. And that's I mean, in the most simple terms, is what the multiverse that people talk about, or quantum realities or multiple realities. That's exactly what it is. They're existing all in this at the same time in the same place, but reflecting different realities. Each message is a different time, a different reality. So that when we're dreaming, we can tap into these larger realities. So it could be the ancestors. It could be, just the universe as letting people know that this disease was coming down the pipe and that people needed to sit their butts down and start thinking about that. So we can get information from different sources. Remember what I said, the unconscious mind is a vast ocean. A vast ocean, just deep, wide, broad. So you could be getting messages from your ancestors. You could be getting messages from aliens. Who knows? But the possibility is there because according to quantum physics, there are multiple realities. There's not one reality. We're very limited in our thinking. As human beings, for the most part, that this is all there is. No, it is not all there is. And for people who have some kind of spiritual, not training, but spiritual belief, they realize that this is not the only reality there is. There's a greater reality out there. There may be various greater realities out there. We just don't know because our thinking is so limited. This is the greatest computer on the planet, but in terms of how it is used and run, it's very limited. So it only works with what we put in, but unfortunately for us, there is because of this greater reality, this psychological substrata that allows us to tap into information that we may never been aware of otherwise. There is a greater reality, and people need to understand that. But that's something that people learn or they don't. It's easier perhaps for people to play small and stay locked into their everyday reality, whatever that may be.
Thank you for that. Yeah, there is a lot there. Anyway, I'll probably suspend that so we can talk about some other area. You made mention of nightmare when you were talking of the particular dream that you were having that was continuously repeating itself for some time. So I wanted you to do a kind of a distinction between what is actually a dream in relation to a nightmare. What is the difference between the two?
A nightmare is a form of dream. It's just one that has negative connotations to it, or negative, generates negative energy in some way, or negative feelings or thought. So it's a dream, but it's one that leaves you feeling uncomfortable in some way or upset in some way. The feeling tone of the dream, a dream can be a pleasant one, or it can be an unpleasant one, and unpleasant ones we call nightmares.
I have another question related to that. Not directly, but indirectly. In the sense that, are you able to decide the kind of dream that you are going to have? That is, before you enter into, it looks to me sometimes like, okay, I'll interview a number of hypnotherapists here. Okay, anyway, that is a different argument. Now, is it possible that you can decide the kind of dream that you are going to have before you have the dream, something like that?
There's a lot of research being done around lucid dreaming, which is dreaming and knowing that you're dreaming, that you're in the dream state. It's used particularly with people who suffer with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and other conditions where they're able to go into the dream and intervene. So in a sense, taking back their power, so they don't feel that they're trapped and powerless by these negatively toned dreams. So yes, in terms of lucid dreaming, you can intervene and interact with your dreams. Active imagination, which I mentioned earlier, is also a way to be able to interact with the dream, but you're doing that in a waking state. I found out recently that one of my cousins does this regularly. She's able to go into her dreams like, oh, no, I don't like that. She changes it. So some people have the natural ability to be able to do that. Most of us have to learn, and it's a process.
All right. Now, personally, I do remember if I have kind of dream when I was very small. Let me try to explain to you, and let's see if we can get something out of it. This is real life, no? I was having this particular dream. It would start like something very small, like kind of a strong wind. It would be very small, then it would grow, and it would grow to be very big. And I never understand what this kind of dream really mean. And I came to understand I wasn't the only person that actually had this dream in my family, because my younger one came to tell me that he was that kind of dream. If I wouldn't have a name for it, but I think we were calling it small T turned to big thing. That's how we were describing it. But I never really understand what that dream mean. Yeah. What do you say about it?
Again, the meaning of dreams is going to be particular to the person and what's going on in their lives. You have to link it back to whatever was going on in their life. Now, as a child, having dreams about flying or certain kinds of dreams. I mean, the dreams of children are much more simple and straightforward generally than those of adults. But again, it's all about context. And unless we were to take the time to actually look at what was going on in that environment at that time to really be able to understand the context of the dream and what it could possibly be saying, it would be difficult. It would just be a supposition on anybody's part, whether mine or someone else's.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And that is really very important to the question I wanted to ask you after that, which is, what do you really consider when you decipher a dream? You want to understand what the meaning of a dream. What are the elements that you consider that help you to understand the meaning of that dream?
Well, I have to look at all different things. Like I said, I need to know what's going on in a person's life. Are they, have they lost a job? Are they fighting with their spouse? Are their teenagers driving them crazy? Is their boss getting on their nerves? What's going on in their daily life? Then to look at the dream in that context. It's all about context. And so the elements of the dream are also looked at and broken down and looked at in a discrete pieces to be able to pull together the different elements of the dream and create the story, to understand the story. It's a story. It may be one that looks on the surface to be completely nonsensical, but it is a story. It has a logic, and there is um, a progression that is being indicated with the dream. So it really is a question of looking at the elements of the dream first, and then trying to pull out the important bits of information to be able to put together the story, and then link that back to what is actually going on in the person's life, to see what the connection is and what the actual message is. Sometimes it can be very straightforward and you get the message right away. Sometimes, like with my repetitive nightmare about 9/11, it took time for me to understand what the dream was saying, and that can happen. It's sometimes we're not meant to know everything right away. Sometimes we have to sit with the dream and work with it to be able to pull out the information that's required. I mean, there's no one way except to work through the dream, and then to link it back to the what's going on in waking life.
All right, I like that. There is no one way. You already like almost answered what I wanted to ask you, but anyway, I will say ask you anyway. In that, assuming somebody have had a dream, and you are asking, I want to believe that you are asking a series of questions, like, because of course this is how it would be done in a typical African situation. If you were to be in Africa and you had a dream, and the dream will maybe terrify to you, frightening, or something you want to understand, you will go to a dream interpreter, no? A traditional dream interpreter who's going to ask you a series of questions.
Mm-hmm.
These people are usually psychologists. That they ask you a series of questions to help understand where you are, who you are, and based on that, they will be able to interpret the dream and tell you what is the meaning of the dream. And usually, they will tell you what to do, because you need to do something against with the message that have come to you, whether it is positive or negative. Usually, we have to do something. But the question now is, how do you know if that is actually the message? Is it based on what the person tells you? If that is the case, what if the person feed you with a different information? Would you still get the same interpretation of what that dream, or what is the message of that dream?
Well, hold on a minute. You're assuming that I'm very directive, that you dreamt this. This is what it means. This is what you do. No, that's not what I do. It's not what I do at all. What I do is facilitate the process so that the dreamer understands. It's not my dream. It has nothing to do with me. It's the dreamer's dream, and it's for the whom it has to make sense is the dreamer. So, we work through the dream. I ask certain questions. As I said, I'm a trained psychotherapist. So besides being a natural intuitive, I'm trained to be able to ask the right questions to get people to think about what they're doing. I don't hand stuff. I don't spoon feed people with information. It's their dream. What I do is elicit certain information so that they see the connections, because like I said, when they get it, it clicks in their head. It's not me, it's them. They have to understand the dream. It has to resonate for them, not for me. So, and in terms of actions to take, that's something we will talk about and can suggest, where do you go from here? Have that conversation. It's like, well, what can I do about this? How do I go forward from this? And that's something that I teach as part of my course as well. It's like, well, where do you go from here? Now that you've kind of gotten the message, so to speak, or part of the message, because if you only got part of it, the dream will come back with some elements changed, as if to say, okay, you got that bit, but you didn't get the rest. Here, let me send it to you again with some changes so you can kind of pick up on the rest. Once you've kind of captured the meaning of the dream, generally it goes away. Just like I said with my dream about this ships at sea. Once I made a decision about something and decided to return, leave New York and go back to London, the dream stopped because they no longer needed to be kind of like picking at my brain or kind of tapping me on the shoulder to say, hey, deal with this, look at this. So there was no longer any need to be reminded anymore. So the dream stopped. And that's generally what happens, particularly with repetitive dreams. If you're not getting the message, it will keep sending it and keep sending it and keep sending it until you get it and do something, whether it be change your mindset or do a physical action. So, I always say that I decipher dreams, but I don't interpret them. Who actually interprets them is the dreamer themselves, because it has to make sense to them, not to me.
Thank you so much for that clarification. That is really very powerful. Thank you. All right. Now, is it possible that people sleep without dreams? Has somebody complained to you about that? And what
Sure.
usually
All the
is the remedy?
time. All the time. People say, oh, I don't dream, or I don't remember my dreams. And that's something that I address during my course, is to teach people techniques that can help them to have better dream recall. But statistically, that happens with everybody on the planet. Up to 90% of a dream can be forgotten in the first 5 minutes of waking. And that's true for everyone, including me. So if you don't make the effort and do certain things to help capture more that information, you'll forget it. I mean, and that's something that happens with everyone. You have to make the effort to remember your dreams. And there's simple things that I teach people to help them to do that. Now, there also could be other physical reasons or psychological reasons why people aren't dreaming. They could be taking medication, whether legal or illegal. They may be taking drugs. They may be, having alcohol at night. They may be eating too much. They may suffer from sleep apnea. There's any number of things that can impact our ability to sleep as well as to dream. And if there's psychologically, if we're not dreaming, it can have a serious impact on our mental health. It just does. And there's ample statistics around that dreaming is an integral part of sleep, and as neuroscience is starting to learn, is actually important in and of itself. Just like the example that I gave of the sleep study done at the University of Chicago. These women were able to heal better because they were looking at their dreams. The function of dreams is, like I say, it's a regulatory function. The unconscious mind is trying to balance things out. There's an imbalance, a psychological or emotional imbalance, and it's trying to work that out.
Are there things that maybe people can do as they are preparing to go to bed that can help facilitate the dream vision, the kind of journey that they're going to have, which is the dream now, but to determine what kind of dream they can have, or maybe to have dream?
Yes, I mean, as I said before, I mean, the people who are lucid dreamers, they can literally kind of program themselves, and research is going on around that. And people actually, some universities are actually doing research where they're going into people's dreams and kind of tinkering with them, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous. The idea of people messing in your head, so to speak. But even for people who are not lucid dreamers, they can learn to lucid dream to be able to actively intervene in a dream during the dream state. There are simple tools and techniques that I teach people that, the first thing is keep a little notepad by your bedside with a pen or pencil. You don't have to write War and Peace, but just jot down bullet points so that it will help your recall when you're fully awake. The other thing is, yes, visualization, or having a simple mantra to recite. I will sleep and remember. I will sleep, dream, and remember my dreams when I wake up. Just kind of set the tone in your mind that this is your intention. Set the intention before going to bed. So that's two simple things that people can do right now. They can, buy a little notebook, put it by their bed with a pen, and whatever thoughts or images or whatnot come up, they can just jot it down. And yes, it will look like a 3-year-old was scrawling in your book when you wake up, but the information will be there, and hopefully it will be enough to jog the memory. Looking at sleep hygiene is very important. Is the room too hot? Are you is it uncomfortable? How late are you going to bed? Are you binging on Netflix before you go to bed? I mean, all of these things have a role to play. Are you taking medication? The medication could be suppressing your ability to dream. Alcohol can suppress your ability to dream. If you suffer with sleep apnea, that could be because you're stopping breathing during the night. That can affect your sleep pattern and therefore your ability to dream. So there's a number of things that people can look at and do, simple things that can encourage the dreaming as well as helping to retain the memory more. And it's an interesting thing. When we make the effort, the unconscious mind kind of clocks that and says, okay, you're making the effort. I'll give you some clues to help the process. So it will help in some way to be able to capture the information and understand it better.
I have a curiosity. It have happened to me. I want to believe that it happened to most people. Maybe you were having an interesting dream. There are some dreams that you really love, because I look at it like a movie. The thing that you are seeing in the dream is so beautiful that you don't want it to end. Maybe so at that time somebody just come to tap you to wake up. Or maybe something happened, you wake up, you want to return to that dream again, but sometimes you're never able to do that.
Well, I just mentioned that active imagination is the way to be able to go back into a dream. If people have learned or have the natural ability to do lucid dreaming, they can go back into the dream. Like I said, my cousin does that on a regular basis. She's able to do that, but that's a natural talent on her part. Most of us have to learn how to do it. Particularly with lucid dreaming. And there is a masterclass that I do teach about that as well. But there are techniques, there are different things that people can do that can enhance the process and be able to go back into a dream, whether it be through lucid dreaming, where they're actually interacting with the dream while asleep, or active imagination, which is they're awake, but they go back into the dream to interact with it that way, under the guidance of someone who knows how to do that. In that case, a qualified psychotherapist. So it is possible. There are things that can be done, but it just depends on where people are starting from, I guess. If they're more receptive and able to learn lucid dreaming, then that's something that they can do. If they are perhaps less able to participate in something like lucid dreaming, there's active imagination, which they can do to re-enter into the dream and interact with the characters found there.
All right. Thank you so much for that. There was something that you were saying before that I would like you to say something more about. Something about maybe somebody mentioned another person's dream. You don't particularly like that. So I wanted you to explain more about that, or talk more about that, what that means.
Wait, I assume that you're talking about lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is when you know you're dreaming. You are dreaming, and it's like you're watching a movie. Yeah? It's like I've had lucid dreams like that, and usually have been very significant in my life for various reasons, and I was quite aware of the fact that I was dreaming. Now, in those kinds of dreams, yes, I mean, with the proviso that either you've been trained, received some kind of training, a natural ability to do so, you can enter into the dream, interact with the people, have conversations with them, do whatever it is you want to do with them consciously. Now, like I said, it's some people have that innate ability to do that. Most of us have to learn to do that. But yes, if there's an element in the dream, like my cousin says, I don't like that, I change it. I, remove that person, remove that situation, whatever the case may be. It just depends. I can't be much clearer than that because everybody isn't at the point where they may be able to do that.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really do. Now, somebody want to connect with you to learn more about what you're doing. How can they reach out to you?
Well, if they go on social media, they look for the Dream Decipherer. They'll find me everywhere. I do have a website which is called crackyourdreamcode.com. Like I said, at most social media platforms, whether it be LinkedIn, whatever it is. I mean, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, I'm really pretty much everywhere. You can just look for the Dream Decipherer.
Beautiful, beautiful. They cannot miss that if you're everywhere. All right. Now, what is your final thought here? Maybe a message you want to leave the people with?
Well, dreams. My question to people is, what are you missing out on by not listening to your dreams? As an entrepreneur, businesses have been founded, including Google, mind you, were created on the back of dreams. The double helix of DNA, Einstein's E equals MC squared, sewing machines, all kinds of things, novels, hit songs have been developed because of dreams. So what, as an entrepreneur, perhaps, are you missing out on? What next best thing are you missing out on by not listening to your dreams?
All right. That is a good question. And it's a good way to end the conversation. So thank you so much for that. So the question is for everyone. What are you missing out by not listening to your dream? That is a good one. And of course, if you have any curiosity, if anything that was said here pique your interest, let us know in the comment section below. Or maybe if you have a question, you have somebody, a dream decipherer, who can help you to decode any question you have about dream. So that is a good offer for you. So all you have to do, let us know in the comment section below. And make sure you find her because she's everywhere. So this is really very beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, sister. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I've enjoyed our talk. I said it's actually stimulated some thoughts for me as well. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. I do have a wonderful time.
Thank you.